Good morning. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Caring Conversations. This is a free online discussion forum that offers a safe space for caregivers of people living with dementia to learn from experts, share concerns, and ask questions. This initiative is brought to you by McGill University's Dementia Education Program, which is supported by private donations. We would like to thank the Petro-Canada Caremakers Foundation for supporting Caring Conversations. Our program offers a comprehensive range of free resources to educate and support people living with dementia, family and informal caregivers, healthcare professionals, medical students, and the public at large. We invite you to visit our website, mcgill.ca/dementia, where you can access many free multilingual resources. And now let's meet our moderators. Lucy Barylak received her Master of Social Work from the McGill School of Social Work. She's developed evidence-based training for seniors and caregivers, and she's lectured in the field of social gerontology and presented in major conferences. Her research studies have been published in numerous journals. Ms. Barylak received the Queen's Jubilee Award for her role in developing a national coalition to support caregivers across Canada. Joanne Besner is an educator, professional coach, and caregiver. She received her Bachelor of Social Work and Master of Business Administration from McGill University. Her 35-year career in public community healthcare in Quebec spans many roles, including frontline case manager, clinical supervisor, manager, researcher, and trainer. Today's topic is practicing positivity and self-care through art. Lucy and Joanne will focus on the importance of positivity and the healing power of art as a powerful medium to improve caregiver well-being. For this special caring conversation, we've invited art specialist Cynthia van Frank to talk about a series of painting that she's created to reflect her personal journey as a caregiver to her mother who grapples with dementia. Cynthia van Frank is a Montreal-based artist and educator whose current work explores memory, care, and loss through intimate family narratives. Her current series, Lest We Forget, about my mother, reflects her 93-year-old mother's journey through dementia and her past as a Holocaust survivor. Working in a style she calls emotional realism, Cynthia uses significant objects and textured paint to transform deeply personal experiences into universal reflections on resilience, aging, and love. Cynthia holds a Bachelor of Fine Arts and a degree in art education from Concordia University, and she also studied at the New York Studio School. Alongside a lifelong studio practice, she's taught for more than 3 decades. Her work has been exhibited in Canada, the US, and France, and featured in exhibitions, documentaries, and cultural projects that explore how art can carry memory across generations. We ask that you please keep your microphones turned off. We will unmute people as needed once we open the discussion. Please note that we are recording today's webinar, and the recording will be posted on the Caring Conversations page of our website. I'll post the link in the chat. Now, ladies, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone, and Diane, thank you for the introduction. The importance of positivity, the healing power of art, and we have the intention to meet one artist who created a gift through the dementia journey with her mom. I do have to add at this time, unless I get updated, our feature guest is having technical difficulties. So we're hoping to get her online as we speak. So I'll keep you posted on that. So given our talk today is to be focused on positivity and healing, we think it's very important to acknowledge at the get-go that dementia can be a tough journey for those affected, and caregivers are at risk for depression, anxiety, and other mental health problems. We do not intend to minimize that today. Given this fact, it's crucial for caregivers to prioritize their own well-being and practice self-care strategies to avoid burnout. And let's begin with why. What does self-care look like to you? Self-care is the ultimate coping strategy to be a healthy and effective care partner. What do we mean when we say self-care? Because that term is usually, it's a term that gets thrown around easily. Self-care is the practice of individuals to look after their mental and physical health and well-being. You are the only one who can give yourself that gift. And I know so often we say, I don't have time for that. Prioritizing self-care means, number one, identify what works for you. What is it that gives you peace and comfort? And number two is take the time for these activities. How will you create the time? And because it's different for everyone, I want you to take a second to ask yourself right now, because it's different. Maybe if you have a pen and a paper or in front of you, you can write something down or just think about it. But what does self-care look like for you? How do you create those moments of peace and enjoyment, even if it is just for a few minutes? In previous webinars, Lucy and I have talked a lot about self-care through movement, physical exercise, being in nature, music, spirituality, mindfulness, journaling. So today's seminar, we're going to explore art as a wellness tool. Why art? Art opens the visual field and connects us to beauty. Art is intentionally ambiguous, therefore it can be interpreted in so many ways and appeals to so many different people. Just like the stroke of a brush, the crayon or pencil in your hand can open you up to creativity, just as it did when you were a child. Art can be a powerful point of human connection. The research shows that integrating art into daily life can positively impact stress, loneliness, and increasingly it's being recommended to enhance an overall sense of well-being. The same way it's used for people living with dementia. You see art programs incorporated into nursing homes, residences, day programs. The same thing goes for us as care partners. Similarly to music and dancing, these bring chemicals to our brain, art, and it helps us bring those moments of bliss and experience positive emotions. So why are positive emotions so important? Because how we look at things determines how we live. And I know some of you might be saying or thinking, Joanne, how can you ask me to be positive when I'm dealing with such difficulty? I'm still going to ask you to be positive. Why? A positive lens is more likely to set the stage for more positive outcomes. And this comes directly from the research. So let's look at that. Although most research does focus on the health risks of caring, there is research, and I'm going to share one particular study that focuses on the positive aspects. In October 29, there was a systematic review of care called A Caregiver's Well-Being. And this research concluded that simply being able to identify your positive experiences in caregiving, even a few, is associated with better stress management, higher caregiver well-being, lower depressive symptoms, and actually just overall better health outcomes. But there's more. There's research that reported lower death rates for some caregivers. So you might ask, how could that be? Do some tasks of caregiving promote healthy living? And the answer is, believe it or not, yes. The interpersonal benefits of caregiving may be another protective health factor. Because caregiving can instill a sense of usefulness and purpose. Caregivers may also be likely to be less socially isolated. These factors promote health and longevity. That's why we somehow need to find the joy in our caregiving. Since the research says that positivity is important, we hope to give you a healing dose of positivity today. So today, somebody has to update me. Are we able to get our guest connected today? Diane
Joanne,
Stewart?
Joanne, do you hear me?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so I've been listening to you and it's been wonderful. I'm just sorry you can't see my face, and I'm smiling, and I'm glad I'm connected.
Okay, so all right, better than nothing. We have Cynthia with us. At least we can hear you. Unfortunately, we're going to have to see you through your paintings. I'm going to pass you to my colleague Lucy Barylak to introduce you, and I'm honestly overjoyed you could join us.
Me too.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much. That's great, Cynthia, that you're on. Diane sort of did a little bit of an introduction of all these wonderful things you're. I'll just repeat it very quickly for those who joined a little later. So Cynthia van Frank is a Montreal-based artist and educator whose work explores memory, care, and loss through intimate family narratives. She has a bachelor's degree of fine arts and a degree in art education from Concordia University, and also studied at the New York Studio School. Alongside a lifelong studio practice, she has taught for more than 3 decades. Her work has been exhibited in Canada, the US, and France, and featured in exhibitions, documentaries, and cultural projects that explore how art can carry memory across generations. Her current series, Least We Forget About My Mother, reflects on her 93-year-old mother's journey through dementia and her past as a Holocaust survivor. So, Cynthia, it is such a pleasure to have you join us, and thank you so much. You introduced yourself as Cynthia van Frank, a visual artist whose work explores memory, caregiving, loss, and the mother-daughter relationships. There are actually two journeys here: your mom with the disease and you as a care partner. Can you begin by telling us about your mom so our participants can get to know her and how you got started on this series?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And I'm sorry, as I said before, that you can't see me. But I'll just correct one thing that you said already. My mom just turned 94 on Monday. So it was really very, very special. And I'm going to try and tell you about her many years in a short way, because 94 is a long time, and many, many things have happened to her. So my mom was born in Brussels. She had a sister. Her sister just passed away a few years ago. And she came from a family that was, I would say, working class. Her father was a tailor. Her mother sewed at home. My grandfather really wanted to be a milliner, and my mother was kind of like a tomboy, and she would hate wearing hats because she had to model the hats for my father, my grandfather, and so everything was fine. Just to tell you a little bit, they considered themselves not very religious, but they were kosher. And it was back in the day, they didn't even have a fridge. My mother used to tell me that my grandmother used to put stuff on the windowsill to keep it cold. So everything was fine. And then the war broke out. And my mother was telling me that they just didn't know what to do. So they fled to free France, but it wasn't that free. And her neighbors denounced them. So my grandfather decided to go back to Belgium, and which they did. And they, like many people at that time, parents decided to hide their children, and they were hidden in various ways. And my mother, they put my mother and her sister in a convent. And that convent, my mother used to say, well, there was no school, first of all. And my mother loved bread, but they used to serve, it was really hard times then, so they used to serve bread that they would put sort of kind of a wood powder in. I guess it wasn't that terrible, but my mother just refused to eat it. And her parents used to visit weekly and then monthly, and then of course they just never came back. And she found out at the end of the war, her cousin who was in the resistance came and told her that both her parents had been taken away and they perished in the Holocaust. So my mother was about 14 when the war ended and went into at that time, the Jewish Congress or Red Cross took all the orphans and they put them into a rehabilitation camp, which, but it was a good camp. And my mother actually saw my dad in the boys' version of that camp, and he was dressed in drag because they used to put on plays for each other. And of course, the boys didn't have girls there, so if there was a girl character, the guy would dress up like that. But she sort of just knew him, and then they reconnected when my mother immigrated to Toronto. She saw my father coming towards her on the street. My father had come to Toronto a little bit earlier and my mother a little later, but she saw that they were a little older at that time and saw each other. And my mother went, "Oh my God, there's Antoinette." And then they reconnected at a dance hall. Anyway, I'm a little segue, but they lived in Toronto, married in Toronto, then came to Montreal, had the 3 kids. My mother was she was a great mother, but very introverted. She didn't think much about herself during the mothering years, but she was very, very attentive and loving. And I was your typical kid of an immigrant and had to explain a lot of the social cues to my mother. Because don't forget, she lost her parents very young. So both my parents were trying to figure out the parenting kind of situation. And then when my father passed away, I think it's now about 14 years ago, my mother just blossomed. And then shortly after that, she started showing signs of dementia. So she had sort of a golden time for a very brief time as an adult.
Oh, that was extremely touching, I have to say.
Oh, anyway, I'm sorry. I could go on and on about my mother. There's so many stories. But
I know, but the whole, experience of her being a Holocaust survivor and kind of now having to deal with dementia. Joanne and I, what I want to say is Joanne and I had the privilege of seeing your exhibit in Cornwall, Ontario this summer. There's nothing like seeing it in person. It was amazing. There are actually around 45 paintings. However, for our participants today, here's a quick look at some of the paintings that made up this wonderful, wonderful exhibit. So I'm just wondering, Stuart, if you can sort of put on the video at this time. Wow, that was extremely touching. And I certainly can
Oh,
relate to that from my own experience, having taken care of my mom. So those are really beautiful, beautiful photos and a lot of meaning to that for sure. So thank you for that, Cynthia.
oh,
Um,
thank you for taking the time to watch it.
100%, it was very powerful, and and every object had so much meaning because it had meaning for you and your relationship. We know even those with so sometimes we can relate to things, right? Um, it's just I'm gonna pass it over to we're talking about painting memory and objects. We see the
Okay.
subject of the series are mainly your mother's belonging. Can you explain the
Mhm.
importance of these ordinary objects that seem like such simple things?
Well, when my mother was first, well, even before she was diagnosed, but when when the diagnosis came in, I was really extremely sad, as one would be, and I just didn't know how to process it, quite frankly. And I was, as an artist, my way of just understanding myself, my world, everything is through making art. Um, that's how I just process everything in my life. So I knew that I thought that would be a great way for me to start understanding first my emotions around my mother and having dementia. And then I didn't even realize when I thought that it would also help me to process my emotions, so to let it run through me. So I didn't know even what I was going to paint. Would it be just about my mother? Was it? I just didn't know. But I think when I was over at her place, um, I I just there were certain things that I saw that just touched me to the core. So I saw her. Uh, Actually, this was even before I started the series, but she was explaining to me about her knitting, and she was rolling the ball of wool. And I think you have an image of that. I'm not sure, but she dropped it and it was rolling away. And I went, oh my goodness. And there were other little objects around that just, for some reason, they just resonated with me. And they weren't, when you think of your parents or your loved ones' objects, and they're passing, let's say, you're going to think, oh, I might inherit this very valuable thing. But for me, it was the simple day-to-day objects that she would either touch or I would touch when I was with her, or if I just saw turning around and just glancing at it, it just, for some reason, it hit me in the heart, and I thought, oh, I have to paint this. And when I started the series and I started painting these simple objects, I honestly, I started feeling the emotions that sort of happened when I first saw them. So I knew that I was on the right track, and it was like an obsession with me. I just wanted to paint all these objects that probably wouldn't mean anything to anybody else but me, because they were so intimate. And interestingly, when I first started the series, I posted something online. I don't remember which one it was. And it was the simple object. And I got so much feedback that, oh my goodness, this resonates with me, from people who had been going through the same thing. So my simple objects, like, it was in the small things that seemed to have universality, rather than you would think the big thing, like it wasn't my mother's jewelry, or it wasn't anything that was very precious, that seemed to resonate both with me and people seeing it.
And Cynthia, you can't see the screen, but what we have in front are a picture of your mom's shoes, and like you said, the simple things, a coffee cup, a bowl of Cheerios, and there's an orchid, a piece of an orchid laying down.
Yes. Well, like, for example, even though my mom has dementia, sometimes she would say certain things that would just trigger me too. So for her shoes, for example, she puts them, she keeps them on, she likes wearing her shoes, and she would put them on the floor just near her coffee table. And, she would say things to me like, oh, something like, I want to go someplace, but I don't know where anymore. I mean, she sort of realized a bit that she was losing her executive functioning to know how to get from one place to the other, but she would always say, but it's okay. Or, for instance, like, the bowl of cereal was such an interesting thing, because I went to visit her one time, and she had left the Cheerios sort of, what kind of, I don't know, there were 8 or 10 little Cheerios floating around in her cereal bowl, and that's what she ate almost every day. She would either have toast or Cheerios. And I looked at that and I went, oh my God, I felt this ping in my heart, and I went back and painted it. And it's interesting when you do something like create art, sometimes when you're painting it, you have a compulsion, like a feeling to paint it, but it's only when it's done, and sometimes not even right after, sometimes it could even be months or sometimes even years, that you realize what the significance is. With the bowl of cereal, I actually felt kind of like, I think it was maybe a month after I had done it, I looked at it and I went, oh my God, it just made me think of my mom had gone through the testing for dementia, and she couldn't put the order of the numbers of the clock. It was all mixed up like that. And I just went, oh my God, it just reminded me of that kind of mixed up clock, that she drew. And I just thought, I don't know if you can see it, but I just thought, that's incredible. Like, I don't know if other people see it. Like, it's meaningful to me. I just put it out there, and then whoever sees anything, I don't want to tell them what to see, because everybody brings whatever they need to a work of art. But I don't know if you wanted to discuss the orchid, because I can't see
you know what, I'm gonna move us a little bit along, and let's see at the end.
Sure.
So I'm turning to the next slide, Cynthia, which shows your hand under water in the shower and the brush. And I'm just going to read from your words. It's called Tender Touch. Sure. And your words, you say, dementia is so often described in terms of decline, absence, and loss. That's true. It is heartbreaking, and it does take away so much. But you share your ability to reframe dementia as a journey that still contains moments of connection and ends in humor, tenderness, and presence. So I wanted you to talk about this thing you call tender touch, and how you connect with your mother through the shower and brushing her hair.
Well, that was a poignant kind of change in our relationship, because it is very, once, well, let me just say, when I first started giving my mother a shower, I was kind of afraid, because I had heard stories about people who had dementia. They didn't want to shower. They didn't want that transition to get undressed. And I wasn't sure how I was going to approach it, but I knew that I needed to be the one to do this. And when I first started showering, I always say, help my mom shower. But she was able, and she isn't able to anymore express this, but she said, oh, she thought it was a bit awkward. And she said, I remember when it was me washing you. So that also was very, very difficult. But it's come to a point where my mother really, she has less words when I'm really with her. And when I shower her, now she actually really loves it. So I do it very respectfully, and she has less words, as I say. So when she's in the shower, first of all, I give her a washcloth. I have a washcloth. I have that hand that you see is her hand. I always say, Mommy, is the water okay for you? So I really make an effort to give her as much autonomy and agency as I possibly can in a situation where obviously she doesn't have as much as she used to. So she can say too cold, too hot, and then, she has a chair, so she sits in it, and I say, okay, Mommy, we're going to wash your hair. And, she started to really love this. I said, Mommy, here, do you take some soap in your washcloth? Can you wash your face? And then I'll, we have a handheld shower, and I rinse her out, and then I'll say, okay, you wash your front, I'll wash your back. And she just really loves it. And I don't know if you want to talk, I don't know if you're seeing the one with well, I'll come back to that after. But it's come to where I'll put the chair in her kitchen, and she'll sit down. I say, welcome to Cynthia's beauty parlor. And, she'll sit down, and I'll brush her hair. And, she loves it so much, because it's just through, she doesn't have that many words right now, but it's the touch. So as I'm brushing her hair or I'm blow drying it, and I'll make, sometimes lately I haven't been making that much conversation with her, because she just enjoys it. Sometimes she'll even fall asleep while I'm brushing her hair. And I kept telling her, Mommy, you have such beautiful hair. You could be a hair model. And, she never thought she was that good looking. Actually, she was, oh, no, but she does have beautiful hair. So
Well,
anyway, she just really loves it.
We can see the strands
Oh,
of her
yes.
hair in the brush.
Oh, yes.
And yeah,
So,
I
yes.
love what you said.
So that I'll speak to that also. So one day I was doing that, and I had put this brush down on her counter beside us, and I turned to the brush and I went, oh my God. It was such a poignant moment for me, because of course I'm brushing my mom's hair and she's very present, but seeing her beautiful white hair in that brush, I knew that, everything's temporary, and her hair was from her, but it was in the brush. So the metaphor did not escape me. And then there was another one. I don't know if I think you have it there on the screen too, where, you clean the brush and you put the hair in the kind of like a tangle.
Yeah. It's not here,
yeah,
but
it's in a pile. Yeah. Okay, well, maybe your viewers will see that later. So so that was just very touching for me. And of course, she just really loves the it's almost like I'm caressing her, and she's very present and I'm very present. And I know that I'm making her happy. And because I know she's happy and calm, I get a lot from it as well. So she's receiving, but I'm receiving also.
Well, I can really relate to just what I love about what you said is that she's losing words. So words are less a medium of communication, but touch, tender touch is so important. And we all love to be touched. Cynthia, I want to go to, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say one other thing too, because coming from my mom's background, she always would say as we were growing up, I'm not a hugger. I'm not a hugger.
Mm.
But I just wanted to mention that has shifted since she's lost all these words. That touch has become such an integral part of our relationship. Not that I'm touching her all the time or anything, but it's the way that she connects now much better, and I can connect with her without the words.
So I'm going to take you to our next slide, and we're going to have to move it along a bit because each painting, we could talk so much about each painting, but the next slide is really about humor. And because you do find humor in the simple things, and you share that your mom does too. And she chuckles a lot about your paintings. On the left is the remote control, which I want you to explain to our viewers. And on the right is what you call purple shampoo. So maybe you could take a couple of minutes.
I'll try and be brief. I'll try and be brief. That's not my strong point. But okay, so my mom, first of all, loves laughing, and she still laughs. That's her favorite thing to do, and I'm really so thrilled every time I can make her laugh. So I showed her every single painting of this series, and she thought it was hysterical that I would paint her shoes, her brush, or whatever. And this remote control she thought was really funny. She, as a lot of seniors do, especially with dementia, she likes having the TV on, whether she watches it or not. It's there. It's there with her, and she was just not able to maneuver or really click on certain things. So my brother MacGyvered it. Basically, he took tape and he just really hid. He actually took all he fixed the inside also. So there was only basically the on off and I think the channel thing. I'm not really sure. But when I showed her that, she just thought it was the funniest thing. And then with the purple shampoo, I was shampooing her, and I used, because she has this white hair, I used this purple shampoo, and I was piling it up on her hair. And I looked at her, I said, "Mommy, you look so beautiful. You look like a queen. I made a crown." And because I remember when she used to do that with my hair, and I just went, "Do you mind if I just take a picture? I'll just take your head." And she thought that was hilarious too. So I took a picture of just her neck and shoulders with that. And that's what you see. I did a painting of that. And when I showed her, I said, "Look, Mommy, you're like the queen with your purple shampoo on your head." And she also thought that was really funny.
Thank you for sharing that. And actually, for the next one, I'm going to pass it back to Lucy because there's a picture of your mom's apple cake, and Lucy herself is a great baker. So, Lucy.
I'm still getting over the emotions that I'm feeling from your presentation, Cynthia. And I believe that humor is so important. And something else that's so important that we can all relate to is food and apple cake, especially apple cake.
Yes.
I've had the joy of eating your mom's apple cake. And so for those of you, and because the recipe is up there, you don't have to worry about it. You'll be able to view it at a later date. So I guess what I want to ask you is, what is the significance of this in the series? Like, why is this apple cake so important?
Well, I think for all of us, I can say probably categorically, food is so important, and we can, through our parents, our grandparents, our family recipes, it just triggers our memories. So for me, it was really important when I was thinking about memories, like, first, my mom was this exceptional baker, and that was one of her recipes. And I don't know if you have a little bit that I wrote about that cake, but she really, honestly, she would be making those apple cakes left, right, and center. I had a freezer full of them. I was giving them away. I just didn't know what to do with all the loaves that she was making of apple cake. And of course, at one point, there were none left, and she couldn't bake anymore. So I took up her recipe. And I started baking them, which really was so important to me. And I would bring them over to her. And I said, Mommy, I went through a whole series where they were just terrible, but I would bring them to her and she would go, they're good, they're good, they're great, they're better than mine. And I would go, oh no, and my mother is the first to say, she says about herself, she's a great liar. And then she laughs. So I knew she was lying to me. So I would really bake these cakes, and I got pretty good at them, actually. And in fact, for her birthday, I made it, and it's too bad you can't see because I wanted to show all of you. I actually had a slice of her cake to show all of you. But anyway, so yeah, so for me, recipes are just, they embody really so much of the love that one feels, that connection between that's in the family. And when I also, I think people who saw the painting at either the Klein House Gallery or wherever I've shown it, they also come to me and they went, oh, this is what my family makes that's really important to me. And because recipes are their love language, right? So that was very important to me to add that to the series.
Well, I could tell you that when my mom stopped cooking, that was a turning point also. And I went to try to do the same as you, uh, be able to cook as she did and never could. Let's look at
Yeah.
this whole, knitting and deep memory.
Mm-hmm.
We know
Yeah.
even those who, with advanced dementia and almost no short-term memory, if they played piano, they could sit down and play a piece from beginning to the end, from deep memories. The music,
Mm-hmm.
memory, for singing every word to an old song can be retained. Your mother was
Mm-hmm.
a knitter, and you had a
Yeah.
similar experience with that. How did you handle that?
Well, just to tell, I don't think you have a slide of this, but I'll just say one
Yes.
story. One painting that is one of my favorites actually, and then I'll get back to what you were saying, is when my father passed away, my mother took a sweater that she had knit for my dad, unraveled it, and then knit a sweater for herself and wore that. So I have a painting of like a little piece of that knitting and unraveling, because I mean that's dementia, right? The person is just unraveling right in front of your eyes. But to what you were talking about, I was doing another painting about my mother's knitting, because knitting is a theme that weaves its way through the whole series. And I am a terrible knitter, because I did try it once and my mother just was like rolling her eyes, but laughing a lot, and she would unravel everything I would do and knit it again and everything. So I was doing this painting of her holding knitting needles, and I just couldn't get the knitting needle. So I thought, I'm just going to ask her. So she was sitting there and I said, Mommy, is this how you hold the knitting needles? And she looked at me and she just started laughing. And then I said, could you show me? And I put the knitting needles in her hands, and immediately it went to her way of holding them, because supposedly, and my mother had told me this, every knitter has their way of holding knitting needles. So she was holding the knitting needles, and it had some links in it. I don't even know if I'm saying the right word for the knitting. But anyway, so she started knitting, and I just went, oh my God, that's just crazy. And it just like, as you said, Lucy, it just came right back to her. So that was really important too, that some things are just so embedded, because my mother really learned knitting I think she told me she was like 5 or 6, at her mother's knee, when her mother's knee. Her mother was a knitter, and she would, discard some little pieces of wool, and my mother would take them and start twisting them. And she actually taught herself as a little girl how to knit. So she has been knitting since the age of 6. So that was very, very important to me. And I remember when my mother couldn't really knit, because the other thing is she would look at patterns, but then invent them also. So she didn't really go along with the patterns, but she couldn't really do that anymore.
Hmm. And just to let you know, the paintings we have up there, Cynthia, about knitting are what you're describing. Your mom knitting that sweater and the ball of yarn and the tangled, all the yarn
Yes.
tangled up together.
Yes. Yeah, the tangles are also key because I didn't realize that at the time, but obviously it dawned on me after, the metaphor of the tangles of just the way she was thinking, and that's the other thing. I don't know if you want to talk about it now, but I really had to, instead of trying to understand the way my mother was thinking, I had to reframe it and just meet her where she is. Whatever she was presenting, I just was going, okay, to me, it might not make sense, but she's here. And my mother is still alive. So she is here. So I had to, and I knew that the other way was just too sad. So, not to accept her the way she is and the way she presented herself.
Well, that's a powerful word. We talk about it, Joanne, acceptance, right? Talk a lot.
Yeah. But for Cynthia, for you to have the strength to do that and to accept and meet her, your words, meet her where she is the message we try to give our participants. Don't argue. They cannot reason with you. I love that. Meet her where she's at.
Yes.
Which this kind of leads us into our next, and I want to go, full circle back, because in our search for positivity, and I'm reading from the slide in front of us, Cynthia, there's a beautiful picture of your mom lying down sleeping. And your quote, you share that it's sad that she has dementia and you miss the person and mother she used to be. So how do you find the positivity in this loss?
Well, that painting, I don't know if you can see it. I don't know how big it is, but if you see it in person, what struck me about my mother when she was in that pose was the light hitting her, sort of caressing her, but then there was the other part of it underneath the light where, I saw she was older, and, I obviously saw what she was, I'm living the dementia with her. So I did see the sadness too. But as I said before, if I would stay, and believe me, after I leave her, I am sad for sure. I have to sort of regroup every time. But when I am with her, I just say, how lucky I am that I could either make her laugh or I could reframe whatever is happening at the moment. And that was my strategy, actually, from staying within the grief and the sadness, was to reframe it. And my making this series and art for me was a way to just have it go, just to really integrate the emotions without, I know I'm doing a lot of talking now, but when you're making art, you're there. And that helped me a lot. And it helped me really focus on my mother. And I have to say I have a lot of joy. I don't know if you, Joanne, and Lucy, like, I think I told you about my experience with the sing-along, or do you want to talk about that later?
No, go ahead. Share that story.
Okay. Well, with my mother, and I know we were going to address it later about things that we could do, but my mother always thought she had a terrible singing voice, and I inherited that idea about my voice as well. But she can't, where she is now, there are activities, and a lot of them she can't really do anymore. But I know it's important for my mother to see people, because that's what she was saying. She always used to love just being with people and seeing people. And in fact, at her residence, she would play bingo, a dreaded game for her, just so that she could be with people. So on Sundays, they have a sing-along with a guy who plays a terrible guitar, and it's always the same and everything. And he's one of those high-waisted guys, and anyway. So I would bring her down to the sing-along, and for 3 months, she just sat there staring, not engaging at all. And I would have the songbook, and I would belt out the singing, the whatever, and it was just terrible. I mean, but I was kind of having fun. And then one day, she started kind of nodding and bopping and swaying to the music. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And also, just to say, I would do the side hug. I would kind of be sitting and just holding, like putting my arm around her and tapping her shoulder to the music. And I just thought, yeah, this is giving her joy, and it's giving me joy. And I would just, at the end, I would do like that extended note, kind of with my voice breaking because I have such a terrible voice. And she just thought it was hilarious that I was just singing that way. And it's become such a thing for us. So I just had to find new ways of connecting with her. And it does take a lot of effort because, 3 months of sitting with somebody who is just not engaging in something is not easy.
No.
And
it really
but
shows your patience. Yeah.
But sometimes I would leave and I would just go like, ugh. And sometimes she would go, oh, I don't want to go. Or sometimes she looked like she didn't want, but I just thought, I have to do this because I didn't know. I honestly, when you're at your wit's end, you don't know what else to do. You just do.
So Cynthia, thank you for sharing those things with us. And unfortunately, I looked at the time and we only have like 5 minutes left. Although,
oh no, okay,
we are able to stay a little bit after if some people do because we got a little bit of a late start. I'm going to circle back to the whole point of why we're talking about art today and why we wanted you to join us. And it really does go back to the research about practicing positivity, art, and self-care. And before I ask you the question, Cynthia, on this slide, I want to just reflect a few things in the research. The first point is, and you mentioned it, that creating art can be a way to focus on the present moment. And I just want our participants to think about that. This art is something that can really take you out of your head, take you away, and just really focus on that and being present. The second thing is, well, I'm going to ask you actually how we do it. But the third point is about it's not difficult to incorporate art into a self-care routine. It doesn't take any special skill or training. You can just start by exploring whatever kind of art might be comfortable and enjoyable for you. And remember, it's about the process. It's not about the final product because we can't all be artists like Cynthia van Frank. But just even a few minutes a day, if you can't take an art course or put aside, for time for regular sessions, just a few minutes a day of keeping some supplies in a corner can just give you those moments to give you an escape. So having said that, Cynthia, I want to ask you, how can our participants today apply your experience using art as a medium, especially those who may feel they have no talent or ability whatsoever? What are your recommendations of using art as a way to process their dementia journey?
Well, first of all, people who say they have no talent or no ability are my favorite people to teach, actually, because they don't come with preconceived notions. But regardless, if those who have talent, great. But I'm just saying a lot of people think they don't have. And I would recommend just getting some sort of even like a crayon-y material or watercolor, something easy, something that doesn't take up a lot of room, something that you could access quickly because you might not have a lot of time, and just put some music on and just even, let's say you're feeling frustrated, just take the first color that comes to mind and just make gestures. Take it, get some paper ready and just it doesn't have to even look like anything, just the gesture. When I'm painting, if you saw my paintings, they have a little bit of an impasto. And for me, that is like the caress. So each brushstroke is actually as if I'm touching my mom. So it's really about mark making more than what it is. The other thing is, if you're a person who really, really likes something to look like what it is, you could actually take a picture of whatever the object is, put tracing paper or a clear acetate and trace it, and then fill it in with color. Then you have the object. You can, I also think, yes, for sure, visual art is fantastic, and you can, if you have the time, go take a course at the Cummings or the Visual Arts Center or someplace else. But to do it, just catch those moments at home and do it is very good. The other thing is, I believe in movement. So if you're just, let's say a music is a thing for you, and even if it isn't the thing for you, just put some music on that you like and sway to it. Just move your body so that it will move the emotions. Because when you're doing art, it both takes you into yourself in a profound way, but it also takes you out of yourself, out of the thinking part of yourself. And that's really important to me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Diane, I want to open it up. If any of our participants have any comments or questions, they can put it in the chat. And maybe Diane, was there anything so far in the chat, or has everybody been just listening to the presentation?
Just very positive feedback in the chat about the art in the session so far.
Okay, so just in concluding, Cynthia, is there any last message or anything? Up on the screen, I have you and your mom, what we started with as bookends, the how you painted, what do you call it, your mom's portrait, and is there anything you want to share before we close, or just see if there's that you hadn't mentioned?
Yes. I just think, I just wanted to say, I know you've addressed this too, and we've spoken about it, Joanne, too, that I know that I'm lucky that my mom is, she still recognizes me. My in-laws had a different type of dementia. They were very aggressive. So my mom is not. So I know that, my situation is only my story. But if in any way that seeing this or my ideas have helped anybody, that's all I could say. And I just, I just think anybody caring for somebody with dementia is just like remarkable for me. And I'm in awe of all of you. And feel free to reach out to me, either on Facebook or Instagram. And I don't have anything else to add really, but I'm open to, I just really want to remove that stigma that dementia has, because, our loved ones are still, they're here still. So life is very temporal. So, yeah.
Yes. Very well said, Cynthia.
Yeah, I don't think we could have said it better ourselves. And I'm going to stop sharing. We usually have our caring conversation now. We've used up
I'm so
a lot
sorry.
of the time. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm going to see if I could stop sharing, but it's funny, Stuart. For some reason, I'm not seeing, oh, thank you. I'm not seeing how to do this without closing off. So there we go. I'm just going to put us on gallery view to see everybody. Cynthia, I wish we could have had you in person sharing with us, but so grateful for. I just want to ask Lucy. Lucy, are there anything else you want to share? And if anyone from our audience wants to speak up and unmute yourself or put up your hand or ask a question, we have Cynthia with us.
Well, I think.
Yes, I just wish I saw everybody. I just wish I could see all your faces. I'm so sad.
I guess what I want to say is that how you started out, it's the whole idea behind doing something for yourself, giving yourself the time. And as you were talking, Cynthia, I kept thinking, and I doodle a lot. I mean, I like doodle stuff.
Amazing.
and butterflies. And the reason I'm saying that,
Yeah.
I could doodle even in a meeting. It gave me such
Yeah.
peace and tranquility. And you would think that I wasn't paying attention, but it gave me even more power to pay attention.
Yes.
So whatever
Yes.
art form, and
Yes.
I loved what you said about dancing. I prance
Yes.
around my living room a lot of the times. So it doesn't have to be drawing. It's anything
No.
that you
No.
can be creative with. Many people find gardening and planting as
Mhm.
Yes, that's an art for sure.
an art
Yes.
I
form.
mean, journaling is
Yeah,
great.
baking,
But
baking. Yes.
sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no. I was just throwing it all out for everyone. Whatever gives
Yes.
tranquility and peace by creating something, that's what we mean by art.
Yes. Even baking, cooking, anything, if you have the time, that's like for some people, that gives them, the sense of being very present. And, there's a term for that, being in the flow, that flow state. And it's just when you're really doing something that gives you so much pleasure or just gets your emotions out, because it could even be sad emotions that you're getting out,
Mhm.
you tend to reach yourself in the deepest way. And Lucy, I love that you doodle, and you're saying, because I even tell my students, how some, because I teach right now at a high school, and a lot of the teachers don't like when their students doodle, but I think,
Mm.
yes, get them doodling. That is a way for them to be very, very present.
Yes. Very.
Wow. You're also reminding me of the doodle, and I want to bring it back to being a child because I have grandchildren. I have a lot of art supplies around me. Sometimes I find I'm pulling out their art supplies and crayoning,
Yeah,
even if they're not,
yeah,
because it's making me feel calm among
yeah.
the ruckus. And today they make it
Oh,
so easy. They sell adult color.
yes,
I know this is maybe low
yes,
standard,
yes.
Cynthia, but they sell
No,
adult
no, no.
coloring books and just
Yes,
crayons,
amazing.
markers. They're
Yes,
such a
yes,
pleasure. I
yes,
know, Cynthia, people are
uh,
asking for your
yes,
email address. Um,
yes. You
can
you
you
can
just
you
say it
can give
out
them.
loud? Because,
Yes,
or
it's my whole name at gmail.com. So it's Cynthia Van Frank, all lowercase, at gmail.com. I did want to say one other thing too that
sure.
I use in teaching that might help. I know that adults really love it too, because I also have grandchildren, and if your participants want, and they're more like at the 3D type people, and they like squishing things in their hands, they sell it's a thing called Model Magic, and they sell them by the bin or a small quantity, but it's air dry, kind of like a clay, but it's non-toxic, and it comes in colors or just white. And that's also something, if you like making something and you're more that type of person that really doesn't like a two-dimensional and rather do a three-dimensional or get your hands like really around something, that's also a great medium. And I know when my granddaughter is making something, I find myself like, she's ready, finished, and I'm going like, give me 2 more minutes, please. I really want to just do something, make that caterpillar with you or something.
Well, I really encourage our participants to check out your Instagram or your Facebook because they didn't get to see all the paintings. We hope that you will have another exhibition soon because, like Lucy said, we went out to see your exhibit in Cornwall, and there is nothing like seeing all these beautiful paintings and their descriptions, the meaning
Yeah.
behind, the words behind, to really process the dementia journey. So I hope that
Yeah.
they will check
Well, I
check
hope
it out.
so. I'm working on it. I just had something here in Montreal, but it's just a part of it. So I'd love to show the whole series, of course.
Yeah.
And for me, also, like if your participants like writing, I also like writing very much. And it doesn't even have to be full sentences. If you want to express yourself just in a word, that will
Mhm.
help. That will do something to you. Just putting things down really
Yeah.
is helpful.
So, Lucy, should we end with our message about self-care to our participants? Is there something you want to to share as we're saying goodbye?
Yeah, I mean, we always say, there's two people in this relationship. It needs to be balanced. And caregivers, you need to take care of yourself and take the time to do something special or meaningful. And thank you for all.
So I hope we had a little dose of positivity here today for everybody who took the time out of their precious day. Diane, do you have any closing message or anything to add?
I do. And thank you so much, Cynthia. There's some beautiful comments in the chat. I'm going to save them and send them over to you so you can see how much you've inspired our audience today. And thank you also to Joanne and Lucy and to everyone who joined us today. Just a reminder that I have recorded this session, so it will be posted on our website in a couple of weeks. I posted a link to a survey. Your feedback is very important. I will also send that by email. I posted Cynthia's apple pie recipe in the chat, so you can download that. And I also posted her Instagram account link in there. So just a little wrap up, just to let you know that our next caring conversation is going to take place after the holidays, and we're planning to offer some upcoming caring conversations in French. So we'll be sharing more information about that soon through our newsletter. So please be sure to sign up for our newsletters. And a reminder, the Dementia Education is funded by private donations. So thank you so much to the Petro-Canada Caremakers Foundation. And feel free to visit our website just to access the many free, wonderful resources. And take some time to do your form of art and have some fun with it and some creativity.
Yeah.
And thank you, Diane, for everything that you do.
Yes, Diane, for the beautiful montage of Cynthia's paintings.
Oh,
We
yeah.
yeah. you.
Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you
My
also
pleasure.
for the amazing questions. Thank you all. And thanks for all your participants also.
Pleasure, Cynthia. Take good care.
Yeah. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye,
Take care of
everybody. Bye.
yourselves. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.